We all know at least one wine snob who insists on decanting the wine to let it breathe and swirling his glass in, saying things like he can smell the gooseberry notes. But is there any merit to this pretentious pomp and circumstance? To get you some top-shelf wine knowledge, we went to UC Davis and talked to wine experts Susan Ebler and Hildegard Heyman, then hopped back over to the East Coast and interviewed Mandy Oser, who's a sommelier and co-owner of Ardija in New York City. So let's play a little fact or fiction. The shape of the glass affects the taste. You have your Burgundy, Bordeaux, large, small, standard, tulip, vintage, flute, tumbler, port, and just like way too many choices. Or at least to the untrained eye. That's right, this is a fact. The shape of the glass really does affect the taste of your wine, even though that sounds completely made up. Most of the wine flavors people talk about, like fruit, chocolate, gasoline, aren't actually tastes, but they're smells. Here's Mandy to explain how that affects your palate.
The style of glassware is helping to concentrate the aromas, which helps to enhance your experience of the wine.
So big, wide wine glasses help to get those scents into your nose by increasing the surface area of the wine and giving aroma molecules a better chance to diffuse into the air in the glass. There are also some chemical changes that can happen when wine interacts with air, reactions with oxygen and other compounds that add new layers to a wine's aroma. And yes, the winemakers fully intended for this to happen. But white wine?
It just needs a little less headspace to release its aromas. So that's why you often see white in this smaller, sort of more narrowly opened glasses.
Swirling your glass and slurping your wine enhances the flavors. This is a fact, so go get your slurp on. Smell is the same reason experienced wine drinkers will swirl a glass before they drink.
You're just introducing the liquid to oxygen, and what it's doing simply is releasing those flavor compounds into the air so you can perceive them and experience them. What's cool is then you can see it change as the wine is out in the air for a greater length of time. You can start to perceive differences in how it's evolving.
And it's the reason why wine aficionados are always doing that annoying thing where they slurp wine into their mouth and do this sort of weird whistling thing instead of just drinking it like a normal person.
A good year.
That big rush of air helps get aroma molecules up the passageway that connects the back of your mouth to your nose so you can get the full flavor of the wine. Yes, I can sense the notes of vanilla and pepper and peach and hand sanitizer and bull fecal matter. This is true. All those ridiculous flavors are actually in the wine. Sommeliers aren't just making those flavors up. When they talk about grass or grapefruit or tobacco notes, there's a good chance it's because the wine they're drinking shares some of the same molecules with whatever they're smelling, but grapefruit or bell pepper isn't actually in your wine. Those compounds can come from the grapes they use to make the wine, the yeast that ferment it, or the wood barrel some wine is aged in. Every wine nerd worth their grapes knows the first thing to do when you open a bottle of wine is to let it rest in the bottle or decanter, right? Well, it depends. Decanting used to be important when wines tended to have more sulfur dioxide, which is a practice that has been calmed down over the past few decades. SO2 in its dissolved form is sulfite. This sulfite kills bacteria and can still be used as a preservative today, but it's not used as heavily as it used to be. It also has an off smell, so resting your white wine gives the sulfur dioxide a chance to evaporate away. With less of it used in modern wines, it's not really that necessary, although off smells can overpower the more delicate aroma of white wines, so letting your whites breathe can be useful. Also, in case you're wondering, sulfite is not the reason you get a hangover from red wine. Trust us. But there's still a good reason to decant your wines. Let's have Mandy explain why.
So sediment is often found in older wines, maybe 5 to 10 years old, red wines, where there's some compounds and tannins that are falling out of the liquid. And if you don't remove them from the bottle, they're going to impart bitter flavor when you drink the wine. Also, it's almost like a grainy texture.
Some sediment is a mass of biological molecules from the grapes themselves, pigments, proteins, and sugars. You might also find crystals of potassium bitartrate, which are natural to grapes. So you might want to decant your older wines, but you could go wild and experiment on your own. Decant half a bottle, then cork what remains and leave the two side by side for an hour or so. Taste them both and see what you prefer. Now, some people are willing to fork over a ton of money for a good wine, but is there really a difference between a $100 bottle of wine and a $2 chuck outside of $98? Well, there's some good news and bad news here, folks. The bad news is yes, there really is a difference. More expensive wines use grapes that are healthier and in better shape before they're pressed into juice. The grapes are handled more carefully like precious newborn babies. This helps ward off bad flavors that could come from damage or rot. And the wine will probably be aged in higher quality barrels too, adding more to the flavors. But the good news? Who cares? If you like how a cheap wine tastes, go hog wild. Taste is subjective. You could drop $100 on a bottle of wine and hate it. Just because it has a higher price tag doesn't mean it's a magical tasting wine. Let's say, for argument's sake, that you did order a $100 bottle of wine, a white. The sommelier pours your glass, you raise it to your mouth and sip, and it's warm. Do you spit it out, throw it in their face, act like this is singularly the worst thing that's ever happened to you? Well, that sounds actually right. I bet you didn't know most Americans drink their whites too cold and their reds too warm. Temperature is the measure of how fast molecules are moving. When they're moving faster, more of these aroma compounds can escape into the air and get up your nose. The flip side is a colder white wine will have less flavor. So non-refrigerated white wine will give more of its delicate flavors, while a too warm red could be a little too powerful for your schnoz. An experienced wine drinker will aim for just between cold and warm. Like a grown-up Goldilocks, somewhere in the middle is just right.
I think one good rule of thumb, especially if you're at home, is pop your red wine in the fridge for maybe 15 minutes before you're ready to serve it. And then at the same time, you could actually take your white wine out of the fridge and let that warm up a little bit.
Everyone knows you drink red wine with meat and white wine with fish, right? Well, maybe not.
I think a lot of the old standard rules are obsolete. So for example, I think that what's more important with pairings is to look at the type of sauce or garnish you have with the dish versus just thinking, oh, this is meat or fish. So for example, say you're serving a nice meaty halibut. It's a very dense fish, and maybe you're serving it with a red wine sauce. It could actually end up overpowering a delicate white wine, and you probably want to choose something like a Pinot Noir with a dish like that.
The biggest thing to remember is it's your taste buds. Drink whatever you want, even if it's this.
I'll have a glass of your most expensive red wine mixed with a glass of your cheapest white wine served in a dog bowl.
So now you know the facts to be as pretentious with your wine as you'd like. Heck, I've been slurping a Chardonnay like a housewife at Napa Valley this entire video. The more you know, right? So pour yourself a glass of whatever it is you like and browse some more of our videos. They too get better over time. We want to say thank you to Susan Ebler and Hildegard Heyman at UC Davis for lending us their time and experience, and thank you so much to Mandy Ozer at Artesia in New York City. Let us know in the comments how many of these you got right, and while we still have you here, do you like podcasts? Do you like podcasts about science? Well, we want to hear from you about how we can make this awesome science podcast. Click the link in the description and take our survey, and you could win a $25 Visa gift card. Thanks for watching.